Hello, everybody. I would like to ask those on the top rows to come in the first row, if it's possible. If no, let it be. Hello, my name is Rasa. I am events manager here at Rocket. Very happy to see quite a lot of you today here at Rocket. So, how many of you are here for the first time? A few, okay. So we Rocket partly as a workplace, partly as an event space, and we're having quite a lot of different events. Part of them are dedicated for our core themes as fintech and innovations. Another part designed to master various soft skills. So today we will be talking about Facebook advertising, and I'm very happy to invite Aurimas here on stage, a professional of Facebook and Google. Yeah. So Aurimas, stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here today with you. I, once again, I am Aurimas Girčys, CEO and founder of agency called APG Media. We are performance marketing agency, and we focus mainly on running Facebook and Google ads for our clients. And in many cases, we have our personal key performance indicator as sales, and this is what our clients usually expect from us. They do expect that we will deliver sales. And in this case, this is one of the reasons why I also came here today. I came here to tell a story how in some cases we deliver those sales, and what is essential when we talk about client acquisition, and what is really important to understand when try to understand what is the role of paid ads, and especially paid ads on Facebook when we want to acquire those customers. So one small information about overall consumption on Facebook, Instagram, and social networks. As currently we are here in Lithuania, I took a look at the information about Lithuanian customers, and but the overall idea is pretty similar in many cases. There's the older demo, the one which consumes content on news magazines, on news portals, on Medium, on basically on Flipboard, all the various news readers and aggregators. There's slightly younger but still older than the young demo, the one which is on Facebook. How many of you are on Facebook? Of course, yeah. That's pretty obvious question. What do you do on Facebook? Scroll. Exactly, you scroll. And what else? And spy on people or spy on companies? Both. How many of you try to spy on your old girlfriends or boyfriends? One brave person. I'm pretty sure that there are at least maybe 2-3 people who actually try to do that. There's nothing wrong in doing that, because all the information is public or private. In the cases when the person really does not want to show you any personal information, he or she simply hides the information from you, right? So if the information is not hidden, then you're welcome to spying on anybody that you want. You mentioned scrolling. And you mentioned that kind of interaction with Facebook as a platform. Do you have an idea or a timestamp when the users do scroll the most? In the morning? When any more ideas? In the evening. How many of you have kids? 1, 2, 3, 5. How many of you put the kids to sleep and go to spend time with your, this precious second half Facebook? Anybody brave to, to confess? I think, our family is similar, and this is actual statistics. Worldwide, not just in Lithuania, but basically worldwide, in every single country globally, the key usage of Facebook is roughly from 9 p.m. to about 10:30, 11 p.m. and in the living room. Sorry, not in the living room, but in the bedroom. So this is one of the things that happens, at nights. When people go home, when they go to the bedroom, they, take the phone and they finally, scroll. Because this is what you dream about, all the day, right? You want to go back home and be not bothered, to scroll. So this is one of the things that is sort of the key patterns of this older demographics and the younger demographics. So the one which is either on Instagram, and there's even younger demographics, which currently is on TikTok. So we're not going to talk about TikTok today, but still one of the reasons why, because the majority of the customers, at least in Baltics, which are customers or users of TikTok, they still do not have the purchasing power, enough to be considered for real estate or car purchasers or something like that. So this is one of the reasons why TikTok is usually out of the context, unless you are MCG brand and or some kind of brand which is simply wants to be put to the mind of the younger audience. So how do we follow, and what are the general, what is the general rule of thumb when we try to consider what exactly to do and what kind of campaigns to run for different users? Awareness, interest, desire, action, AIDA model, right? How many of you have heard about that model? 1, 2, 20, 70 people in that audience, in this audience, have heard about AIDA models. Awesome. Anybody knows what is the point of that differentiation, awareness, interest, desire, action? Why do we care about splitting or building a funnel? Different message. What else? Different time. Different message is one of the really relevant points here, because time as well. But the message has to be different simply because the customer, in many cases, is not really well prepared, for at least you bombing him or her with the proposal. So the customer wants to be warmed up. Or I mean, it's not like they want to be warmed up, but eventually, if you do warm them up, they will potentially be more likely to spend the money with you. Because otherwise, you just try to right hook them and kill them with the first initial blow. This might end with a disaster, because the customers will feel like, why do I need this offer? What is the point? How come? But if you try to nurture them, it's like with dating. How many of you ever approached a girl, and said, let's get married? Like today. I mean, in the bar, on Friday. Anybody? How many of you approached a guy and said, let's get married and have kids? I mean, that would just sound weird, right? A little bit weird. So why do we get attacked on Facebook with the same kind of approach? That's a mystery, right? I mean, yes, of course, in the end, everybody wants the same. I mean, it's either, A or B. You want them to buy your apples. You want them to buy your house. but you expect them to understand what is the point of them spending the money with you and not with somebody else. Because, let's say, with universities, there are many value propositions of universities. Like, some of them are, point A, you get a diploma. Point B, you get a network of people that will maybe have, similar background like you, and etc. So, like, plus additional more. But when you apply for the university, you try to consider, your potential future career. And I personally, when I applied for the for the studies, I applied for political science. This has nothing to do with my life today. I mean, yes, I do remember, like, some of the topics and lectures. I remember the lecturers. Some of them were cool, some of them were lame. One of them came to the class one morning, and that was, somewhere in March, and that was like, Monday morning, and he said, I'm so hungover. I was, sort of doing something with, this picking potatoes, and you understand that it's March, so, yeah, exactly. So, so what kind of potatoes? And in Lithuanian, that's like, bulvakas is the word. Like, so yeah, definitely he was not picking potatoes, because people usually do that in October or so. At that point, I lost all respect, to that person. But who cares? Like, this is one of the funny stories that I remember about my studies. It doesn't mean that I would recommend or not recommend the university, like, because of that. But it simply means that this is one of the, things that sort of leave my life. And the same is with every single customer touch point when it comes to social media and all the other ads and everything else. So the customer considers your brand, and the customer considers how well, you are able to nurture them. Do you provide them value at certain points, or do you just say, look, let's get married, let's, like, buy my apples, buy my car, etc., etc. Another model, see, think, do, care. Everybody heard of that as well? What is the point of, what is the idea behind somebody, like, the key initial thing here is that when, as it was mentioned, like, by one of the colleagues here, is that somebody has to be presented with different messages, and during, like, different stages. And one of the wrong things, one of the evil things, and one of the things that should not be repeated and should not be done is building the model which follows all, like, all 4 elements of the funnel, and putting the same ads in all of them. Because what if somebody has not seen my ad before? That's an argument, but maybe they went through the funnel already, and maybe for them there's something else that they want to consider. This is the model that we built ourselves. The idea behind that model is that awareness, curiosity, desire, convert. The idea behind that model is that it doesn't matter if that's awareness, interest, desire, conversion, action, or whatever. The key thing is that it's top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So this is the same thing here. The same thing here applied. And we are happy that, like, when we were thinking about a model, to present, for our clients, we came up with this ACDC model, and it's a little bit of a mockery, maybe of all these models, but the idea is that It doesn't matter how you name them. Eventually, the key thing is that you follow through the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So how do you set up the campaigns for the audiences in different stages? So one of the brave persons who sits in very beginning of this audience mentioned that you come up with a different message. What else? What else is important in different funnels, different stages of the funnel? Call to action, definitely. So you want to make sure that they have purchase now, and that is in the bottom of the funnel. Learn more maybe in the top. Consider me if that is possible, or something else. In the middle, maybe learn more again. Maybe download a PDF or something like that. In the middle, so yeah, different call to actions, very good. Anything else? I think that one of the key elements here is the way we select the audiences. And one of the primary mistakes, usually when we talk to some clients which already ran campaigns, one thing is very important. It's really completely two different walls. One is the one when you run Facebook ads in Lithuania, and the one is when you run Facebook ads in countries like UK or USA. Because, to be honest, it's really hard to screw things in Lithuania simply because of the size of the population. How many of you know how many people live in Lithuania? 2.7 million. How many of them are on Facebook? How many of them do have internet? Yeah, definitely, something like that. So 1.8 million people in Lithuania have internet access, and 1.5 million of them have Facebook accounts. So, to me, this is the population of Lithuania. Simply because the rest, maybe they don't care about digital. So things are things. I think that when you have the audience size of 1.5 million people, and if you consider that, with the cost per 1,000 impressions, let's say 1 or 2 euros, it means that potentially it's possible, to reach maybe the whole Lithuania on Facebook, running the ads with about 3,000 euros or so. So if you are only aiming for the reach, it is not really a very hard, thing to do. When we talk about the audience sizes of United States or UK, that's a little bit more interesting, and this is where it suddenly becomes more challenging, because if you do really detailed Facebook targeting, Facebook interest targeting in the country like Lithuania, and you say, look, I want somebody who is engaged, I want somebody who is 25 to 45, I want somebody who's a female, and I want somebody who is into fashion. Give me a number, potential number, how many people would fit these demographics? 5,000. That's a good guess. Give me another number, a little bit lower. Way lower, to be honest. 800. So yeah, this is the size of the population, 25 to 45, engaged, with recently engaged, etc., etc. So yes, you can narrow down, but that kind of audience is a little bit too narrow. And from everything that we read about, what is suggested and what is recommended for the markets, like, for example, United Kingdom, they say, if your audience size is lower than 1 million people, then it's not really an audience. So now, when we think about this and apply it to Lithuanian market, then it means that maybe the smartest thing to target people is simply, males, females. It sounds stupid, but maybe this is one of the, ways to approach them in the very beginning. and to have that kind of, that kind of targeting. So if you have really, really narrow audiences, then yes, you are super efficient, but the key efficiency is usually, sort of expressed in a matter of one impression, one click, one conversion, 100% conversion rate, right? But everything else simply sort of ruins, the conversion rates and the results. So what I mean here is that yes, you have to think of, the interest and middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel, but for the top of the funnel here, the key thing is that you have to build large audience pools and think of them in sizes of at least 100,000 people. So that if that is 100,000 people and more, then it's a good audience size. If that is more than 1 million, that's maybe a little bit too big. So in countries like UK, you can have 5 different interests combined, and you will be able to have an audience of 500,000 people. That is really good. So this is something to consider. How many of you use interests all the time? Like, no lookalikes, yeah. How many of you never heard of lookalikes? Heard of them? Definitely, right? So the key thing is that you follow through the whole funnel, and eventually you drop the interests, because the interests are relevant, but only in the beginning. Because when the person comes to your site, it is essential for you to set the customers, set the tags in a way that the customers are being tracked all the time. Of course, you have to inform that they are being tracked. But when they are being tracked, you have to make sure that every single interaction is being once again tracked, and then you try to build an audience based on that. So what happens when the page loads? How is this event being called? Page view, okay. So when I go from page view to another section, like for example, I click on the product. There's also a Facebook standard event for that. View content, exactly. View content. When I click on the button add to cart, there's another standard event. Add to cart. Then what's the next one? Initiate checkout and purchase. Of course, everybody wants purchases, but it is important to know that if we start with purchases from very beginning, then we might not have those purchases, because usually what's also important to know is that for Facebook algorithm to work properly, you need to have at least 50 conversions per week, for the learning to happen. And if you don't have those 50 conversions per week, then what? Then your conversions in the future will be more expensive. So you have to go one step back. So if your key objective is purchases, and you have 20 purchases, but you have 200 initiate checkouts, what should you optimize for? Initiate checkouts. Why? More events. Does everybody understand why it's it's really essential for you to optimize campaigns for initiate checkouts at this point? Yes, very good. So going one step back, if you have only 20 initiate checkouts, then what do you optimize for? Add to carts. And again. So thing here is that for the top of the funnel, we come with interest categories and of course lookalike audiences once the events happen. So every single time when the event happens on the page, the view content is triggered, add to cart is being triggered, initiate checkout and purchase is being triggered. We create audiences for that, and we start running the campaigns for the new top of the funnel audiences. So this somebody who came to the site and made a purchase becomes a signal for Facebook, to be more efficient for next step. Middle of the funnel. Why, what kind of, everybody heard of video ads? Yes, definitely, right? So what kind of, why is it really good to run video ads for the first, for the customers which have never, engaged with the brand? Can you say that?
Yes, because so we can explain with the video what we offer exactly and its first impression, and this is branding. That's all.
Exactly. So you can explain with the video what is the story of your brand. Maybe your owner decided to save the whales. Maybe you went somewhere like to Indonesia and started collecting plastic and everything, and now everything is refurbished and etc. etc. So all these things are important, especially to the markets where this matters. One more thing, why videos are great, and this is mainly from the targeted perspective, is that you can retarget people who watched like at some portion of the video on Facebook. And for us, it's usually one of the key targeting objectives in the beginning, because we start running the interest ads in for the customers who have never engaged with our brand. When they saw 50% or 70%, 75% of the video ad and engage with it, we move them to the next stage, like middle of the funnel, and push them to next stage. So we also expect, of course, them to go to site. If they don't, then we simply run the middle of the funnel ads for the people who watched the certain section of video. If they came to the site but didn't make a purchase, they still go to middle of the funnel, because they at least made some kind of interaction with the brand. Once again, and then afterwards, when somebody already goes way further, through the line and adds a product to cart, expresses an interest in making a purchase, they're being put to the BOFU point. So the goals for the top of the funnel are content view, and for the middle of the funnel are add to cart, and for the bottom of the funnel are purchase. Everything super simple. The problem here is that people start running interest-based ads, and they say there are no purchases. Of course there are no purchases, because these are the top of the funnel ads. These are the people who have never been to your sites. These are the people who have never heard about you. So you expect them to make a purchase. It's a little bit weird, especially if these are the first 2 weeks of your brand being live. So you have to start going all the way down. And what kind of ads are the best for every single stage? So from our experience, and we work mainly with e-shops. So in our experience, the top performing ads for top of the funnel usually are either videos, so the things that I already told about and talked a lot, then dynamic prospecting carousels. So what exactly is this dynamic prospecting carousel? Anybody tried them? Yes, definitely you've tried. For those who have not tried it, when you do two things. When you have a Facebook feed, like XML feed, which is linked with the Facebook account, when you have a catalog, how many of you have an e-shop? Do you have a catalog feed? Very good. Is it so? Can you tell us a little bit about your your products and what exactly you do?
I can tell about my previous experience. I had a list of 10,000 of items, and I should update all of them each hour. because prices changes. And actually, I used Google Ads and Facebook Ads. And I think that the best channel for this is Facebook Ads, because my items were for people who is a target audience in Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. So there's one really good point that was presented. Sorry, what is your name? Jane. Okay, Jane, nice to meet you. So one really interesting thing that Jane mentioned, she said that she had an e-shop with 10,000 products. So this is something that is extremely great for e-shops for Facebook. I mean, to be honest, for any dynamic retargeting or dynamic prospecting, because if you have 5 products, then dynamic prospecting or dynamic retargeting is pointless, because dynamic prospecting works well when you have 1,000, 2,000, 20,000 products, and the more products there are, the better it is, simply because there's a better chance of a match between all the products that you have and the customer. So as Jane mentioned here, she had an e-shop with 10,000 products, and for her, dynamic prospecting both on Google and Facebook worked really well. So this is something similar to dynamic remarketing. You remember all these cases when you come to the store and suddenly, you view the product and you start seeing that product over and over again with the, next 5 products which are similar or not really that much. But Facebook believes that, you should be buying them. So dynamic prospecting works in a similar manner. It selects a list of, products which match certain criteria, and it's being viewed, not viewed, but displayed to the audience, which is most likely to, do what you want, them to do according to objective of the campaign. It's either, reach or engagement or, or traffic or purchase or add to cart or something like that. So dynamic prospecting, carousel, instant experience is also really good. So instant experience is something that was called before Canvas, so Facebook Canvas ads. These ads here are really good because you can have dynamically inserted elements again, and these dynamically inserted elements allow you to have the only problem with the dynamic experience ads is that it's shown only on mobile, but it's not an issue, if your target audience is, using mobile devices. Then for the middle of the funnel ads, we sometimes suggest either running, carousels or single image ads, and then for the bottom of the funnel, dynamic retargeting carousel. So what are exactly the similar, the examples of that? This is example of cold clients, top of the funnel, Esperanza, one of our clients, which simply runs an ad which helps engage the best and which present different sections of what the brand is exactly proposing, to the customer. Then, when somebody is trying to click, on the ad, they are presented already with a special deal. Another example here for the cold clients is, of course, video ads, right? So I talked about them. So these are two really interesting examples. One of them is the product which is tea, and it's being promoted currently in UK. Another one is organic dog food. So both are really interesting products. Talking about Rocketto, GoRocketto.com. This product is very different from everything else in the market, simply because usually when we talk about dog food, it's some kind of, I don't want to use that word, but the top of mind word is some kind of stuff, properly, if I express myself correctly and politely. So some kind of stuff which is, mixed together, added different minerals and etc. And usually it's not really, food, but elements of something combined together. So you as people would not really probably like, to eat that thing, but, we somehow believe that, dogs maybe are not worthy enough. So for them, we give something that we would not eat ourselves. So Rocketo came up with a different approach. They felt like they wanted to make an actual change in the life of dogs. So they came back to something that dogs used to eat for ages before, going to our lives in 20th century, in 21st century. So they introduced organic, real meat, like, for example, fazan, something like, a bird, which would fly outdoors, and so they would get that bird, and they would dry it up, and they would simply put that meat dried to the to the box for the customer. The customer gets that meat, puts on water, and it's like, the same meat that was sort of just caught a while ago. So it's a really interesting approach, sort of giving dogs a chance to eat something healthy, and they had vets vouching for them, because also vets were the people that helped, create the product. So there were many different stages, and as Jane mentioned before, you want to introduce different values of your brand. So here, Rocketo, what they did, they tried to present different values and present different reasons why you should spend your money with the brand. And one of the reasons is that it's created by vets, it's vouched by vets, and veterinarians, and everything that's behind that product is is good. And when somebody decides to watch that video, or any of the 20 videos which are being run for the top of the funnel, they're being pushed to the middle of the funnel, and then already the other cases start happening. What can you do with the warm clients? So this is another example, a company that's in Lithuania. They simply have an idea that it's something that's being created in Lithuania, and they want it to be. So they want people to know that it's a Lithuanian textile. So that's it. Don't hesitate. Come to the site and get a 15% discount for the first purchase. So this is something that I think. Sorry, what is your name? Mauro. Yes. So this is exactly what Mauro mentioned before. Different call to actions for different stages. So Shop Now is already for the bottom of the funnel. If we go to the upper funnels, that's different call to actions. For the bottom of the funnel, that's Shop Now. This is a very clear, idea. Look, you get a product, just certain price, free shipping. To be honest, if you run that ad for the top of the funnel, nobody would care. What kind of product is that? Why should it pay those 56 pounds? What's the point of that free shipping? Nobody would care at the top of the funnel. So we nurtured them, and already at the bottom of the funnel, they are being presented with the product, with the promotion and with the idea. The same is here. We have the brand called Gentle Ride, and for the bottom of the funnel, Shop Now carousel, dynamic carousel with the dynamic retargeting, and these ads, they work really well, for the purchase event, because this is what you want for the final conversion, purchase. So some selling points, you will get it in 1-2 days. In many cases, they say that this is a free delivery if the product costs 50 euros or more in Lithuania, and this is something that is really, really essential. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. people expect free delivery. Even if they do not say that, they usually vouch for the products which have free delivery. So if you can, provide some kind of reason, for you to have a free delivery. In this case, we, sat with the client, and the client decided that for them, from 50 euros and more, that can be a free delivery. So then they provided that, that offering, from the certain price. It can be met maybe like, from certain quantity, like, buy 2 or 3 products and then get a free delivery or something like that. So try to think of reasons, for them to choose you as a brand. Then what is also important is how do you structure their account? This is something that's honestly not really basic. It sounds like, a very simple table, but we can spend hours talking, about that table and the reasons why certain things are, in certain columns. For example, usually when we try to create the campaigns, we say that there are prospecting campaigns, the ones for the clients which have never heard about you. Then there's dynamic prospecting as well, the people that have never heard about you, but maybe for them, if you have a big e-shop with like 10,000 products, 20,000 products, maybe that can be one of the reasons, like, to one of the campaigns for you to provide. Then retargeting for the people that came to your site and viewed a certain product already. Then is, of course, this is the dynamic retargeting for the people that came to your site, viewed a certain product, made a purchase or not, and then you either promote that product that they didn't buy, or if you made a purchase, and this is essential, sorry for touching the screen, upselling. Upselling is super, super important. I cannot stress that enough, how important is upselling. With upselling, for some clients, we managed to have cost per conversion less than €1 for products which cost 100 euros and more. So imagine the math, which is pretty straightforward. And that's not like, spending €2 per month and having those conversions, but this is like, normal campaign. So, and that's with upselling. So how does upselling work? Just like when you create sorry? Upselling? Sorry, €1 is in Lithuania, yeah. Sorry about that. I know that in UK, that would be even better. But yeah, at this point, we still do not have, like, for the upselling campaigns in UK, €1 conversion cost, but we're going there. And with upselling, this is something that's just like with retargeting. When you create, this list of people that viewed the product or added to cart or something like that, you can also have a section which is simply click the button, upsell. So how does it work? Facebook chooses only the people that viewed the product, that made a purchase on your site, and then excludes that product. So here we have a magical thing. We have already people that made a purchase on your site, and so when somebody makes a purchase on your site, you know one thing. If you didn't screw up the delivery, then they are likely to trust you, and they are likely to make a repurchase if you're selling, additional, really great products. So with upselling, we go for other objective, and we try to make sure that there are more conversions and more purchases. So the objective can be for prospecting, content view and add to carts. I mean, honestly, we try to go to add to carts as soon as possible. If just like we talked previously, sorry, what is your name? Sorry? Artem. So just like we talked with Artem before, he mentioned that if you do not have enough conversions, like enough purchases, you need to go to initiate checkout. So if you do not have enough initiate checkouts, you have to go to add to carts. So we try to go to add to cart as soon as possible. If add to cart doesn't work, we go one step back and we go to view content. With dynamic prospecting, we plainly go to add to carts retargeting as well. Dynamic retargeting here, that's already for the purchase. So this is the way usually the funnel is being constructed. And this is one of the main ideas of overall account structure, is that you need to make sure that objective really falls through. One important thing. So you know that there are different objectives on Facebook. Have you heard, and this is once again, like, I cannot stress enough how important it is. Have you heard that different objectives do not compete with each other in the auction? Do you know the idea behind the auction? So how the auction works? So the auction works in a way that if there's the same audience, if the customer belongs to the same audience, and if, and this is one of the reasons why I need to exclude audiences from the other audiences. But even if you have, the customer belonging to the same audience, and one of them is in one auction, another one is in another auction, then they do not compete for, with each other. That's it. So right here, if we have content view auction and purchase auction, then simply because of the campaign objectives, they do not overlap. So we can have different auctions, and this is something that, to be honest, it was really great news for us, because we always aim for optimizing campaigns, and we say, we really don't want to screw and overspend and make the customer see and sort of compete with ourselves. So we try to have this lean campaign structure with less campaigns. And then we had an interview, not interview, but the call with Facebook team in Dublin, and they sort of just gave us this amazing idea that apparently the auctions, as they are run objective based, they do not overlap. So one auction, for if you want engagement, and another auction, if that's for conversions, it will not overlap. You can have them if you want that. So ad sets, creatives, I don't want to go for all of them. I think those of you who took pictures, you wanna you have them. So if you decide still to sort of work already with the same or within the same audience, this is something that you still wanna do. If that is one account, one objective, within that, you need to make sure that you have to sort of just use the audience overlay. So this is the section that I was sort of referring to when I was mentioning that in different auctions there are different simply as there are different auctions, you can have different campaigns, and they will not overlap with each other. The same here, that you can either control the cost, or you can go from that to something else. Facebook is moving rapidly to the cost control based on usually. So those of you who had the days of adding the budgets per ad sets, it's kind of gone. Everything is moving towards the campaigns now, and it's simply just rotating. The budgets are being rotating inside. And our experience with the campaign budgets is honestly even better than I thought that they would be, because the only thing that is important to make sure is to make sure that you have that you don't have weird objectives. Because if you will have one objective, let's say landing page viewer, and then there's going to be another ad set with different purchases, of course Facebook will spend the money on the objective that is easier to achieve. But if you have one campaign with the purchases, then everything is going to be good. And one more essential thing about the cost control, cost cap, bid cap, and target cost. So ideally, you can and should, think of how much each conversion, should cost for you. Our experience is also that we tried bid caps, we tried target cost. Somehow, still, in most of the cases, this no cost control, I don't know why, but it works a little bit better than the one with the cost control. Maybe that's because sometimes one conversion, costs less, one costs more, and on average, they simply just average out. But this is how it works. So there is a 6-step process, which usually how many minutes do I still have? I don't know. I mean, but it's like, yeah, let's ask the audience. So, I can talk for the whole day, but the question is do you want me to go with through the presentation, because there are more things about the examples here. Oh, something went wrong. Yeah. Okay. So this is, yeah, I think I clicked on the wrong. All good? All good. So let's do like this. I will skip briefly through some slides, and then I will focus on the things that I've. Sorry? Yeah, let's do like that. QA is way better. So because the thing is that there are really, really many slides, and I think that it's better for me to answer some questions than just talk, because maybe there's more value in that. So, any questions? Sorry? So this slide is about the way we run the overall hypothesis, with Facebook ads. And the idea here is that when we start in the beginning, we try to, think of some kind of simple question, like we go to the page of the competition, and we see that, look, there's a really interesting event implementation, Facebook pixel code is implemented in a really interesting manner. Not pixel code itself, but the event tracking. So, because you know that there are things like custom parameters. Standard parameters, like you said, view content, add to cart, etc. And so when you have the view content, there are product ID, product price, and etc. So these product ID and product price, they are custom parameters. They are default parameters. But you can add custom parameters as well. I will provide you an example of that. So this is the case. Like on Facebook Pixel, usually when we go to this section here, like event product name, segment, forms, event label, page product name, this is custom. Right here, everything is being pre-programmed through Google Tag Manager. So you can have any kind of parameter pushed to Facebook. And this is one of the cases when we went to one of the competition pages, and we thought, okay, no, this is interesting, because they try to push some really interesting information to Facebook. So for us, it was an idea that maybe it could be interesting to test something here. So we went further on, and give me a second, I will find something. Sorry. And where is that element with the tag manager? So I do not have that slide. So we pushed one parameter through Google Tag Manager, like the email of the user to Facebook. So this is something that you can do custom, and you can push anything you want. Do you know how data layer works? Or do you know Google Tag Manager? So on Google Tag Manager, there is a section called variables. So if you go to variables, there are gonna be variables like product name, anything that's already on the page. So you can create these variables yourself. And an example of that variable can be, weather outside. or the, let's say, time when somebody went, to your page, or anything you want. It can be even, the website where the user came from before. So we push these custom parameters to Facebook, and then simply try to understand if what can work and what does not work. So yeah, initially that slide was about sort of setting these hypotheses and then testing them and checking if these things really matter for the end customer. And for us, the thing here was that as you know, as you work with Facebook, you can create an audience based on events. So everything here, or like for example, this event product name, segment, URL, it can be as a sort of filter of an event. And you say the event is test click nav, I just renamed it, but you can filter it down, and you can filter down, by the certain parameter. So these custom parameters can be anything, like product. So just once again, anything. More questions? What is Google Tag Manager, right? It's a powerful tool which helps you, create not campaigns but events on page. Yes, sure.
In the beginning, you stated that perfectly. I mean, the point is to target the sell, selling, right? And as far as I know, I read many books in selling, and if you want to sell, you don't have to sell. So what do you have to do? And of course, there are many solutions. I mean, you have to inform, you have to teach, you have to ask questions, and so on. In your experience, what is the percentage of people who buy, so far in Facebook items? Because, for example, I do buy in the internet. I use Facebook to add my services, but I don't buy myself in Facebook. I mean, when I see an advertise of something, I really don't care. But I use it actually, and I do buy in Facebook, in internet. I mean, so what is the percentage, numbers, and also, well, okay, it's enough.
So you touched really interesting topic, the one related to attribution modeling and how you overall measure the impact of campaigns. And attribution modeling is the tool which on Facebook and on Google, it allows you to, yeah, I think I clicked something, right? So it's a sign, right? So it's a tool which allows us to understand and assign the conversions. So on Facebook, the default conversion window is 7 days after the user clicks on the ad. So you can also change that attribution modeling, like from those 7 days that user clicks on the ad to anything, to let's say 30 days that user seen the ad. And then if somebody just like you, for example, who saw the ad or clicked on the ad and then went, let's say, out of Facebook or out of Facebook Audience Network, because Facebook Audience Network can be on Delphi, it can be on many websites and many apps and etc. If you've seen games, if you sometimes have games on your phone, and there's this add choices button, and you try to understand why you see the ad. Sometimes you see that this ad is being served by Facebook. So Facebook is a platform. It's not about just Facebook as a placement, but as a technology or platform to show the ads. So if you have, if you check and go through the attribution modeling, you see that you don't have to, convert directly from Facebook to become a purchaser according to Facebook statistics. Because if you clicked on the ad and then you left it and then you went to Google and you clicked on Google search and you made a purchase, according to Google Analytics, then the conversion comes from Google. But Facebook still collects that person because it initiated or it participated in the overall this conversion journey. So the percentage of people that make purchases directly on Facebook, that's less than 20%, but overall people that are being impacted by Facebook because of that, that's the number is way higher. So you have to think of it's like with other mediums and other channels. You run the campaign and sometimes you do not have any measurements. With Facebook you have you can choose what you measure, how many add to carts were, how many purchases were, how many view contents were. And this is one of the things that's like magic to me, because when I say magic, it's magical how simple Facebook did it with the help of Google Tag Manager. Like, how come it's a tool of Google that helps Facebook, get all this value? And Google is not the company which manages to, have all these steps properly implemented and measured in Google campaigns. So this is magic. How come somebody, is able to use something better? Yes.
Let's talk about the money, maybe. How much one should put in to get a really successful campaign in Lithuania?
Okay, Lithuania. So in Lithuania, so in Lithuania, there are different examples. For example, we have a case when the company invested something, from 1 to 2,000 and had the return on ad spend about 40,000%. So yeah, simply multiply it, by 400 times. Not 400 times. So it was a lot. It was like it's clothing. Yeah, so it's like it's a fashion product, but still it's something that was really great success, and one of the no, it was in one day. Yeah, it was in one day simply, and then and the reason why it happened was that it was it was a sale which usually does not happen. Then second thing is that it was the brand which usually does not have sales. And then one more reason is that this was the timing when nobody was really having sales. We tried to repeat that on Black Friday. It was still way better than in other markets where the brand is, but it was not as good as as it was on that day. So so it was not Black Friday. No, it was just like an average shopping month. Not September, not December, not November. I think, as I said, one of the reasons is that we pushed the amount, which is way bigger than the average daily spends of Facebook ads in Lithuania of any advertiser. Because even big brands, they sometimes spend up to 100 to 200 euros per day, and they think that sometimes this is enough. So we pushed that a little bit further. Second thing is that our objective was we had two objectives on campaigns. One of them was purchase, another was add to carts. Then simultaneously, we had dynamic remarketing campaigns, which was running purely on view content and add to carts, customers, and that was already pushing for the purchase. So everything was set up in a way that the more add to carts happen, the more purchases will happen, and it just worked in this really, let's say, by the book manner. That's just like in the book. This happened exactly that way. It was repeated again, but with slightly lower results. So, like about 20-30% lower than it was. So yeah, I mean, not 5%. It was not twice lower, but about 20% lower than was afterwards, than on the first time. But I think one of the reasons why this happened, this had lower results, was that on that second time we ran it on Black Friday. So it was just madness. Everybody was spending money, and it was just a buzz of ads. It was it's nothing that magical. It was a deal, but not definitely 50%. And it was a well-known brand. At least I know it. No, I cannot. But I mean, it's like really. So, as I mentioned, the funnel was built in a way that we started it from, first of all, running the way, once again, 3 stages. First of all, we set up the conversion campaigns, which were running for purchase objective, and they were running for the add to carts and and view contents. That was dynamically. Then there were these experience ads, which were running for the add to cart objective, and then we ran this the campaign on top, which was running for the add to carts. So the objective of that promotion was add to carts, and because we had really a lot of add to carts, also purchases happened because all the other campaigns sort of just started working better. A/B testing, something really worth working on. The problem is that it's really difficult to measure the results in the market where you do not have 200,000 impressions or clicks for the A/B test. So you can keep testing, but once again, with every single audience and every single ad, there can be a case when one ad will not work for one target audience, but will work for different target audience. So simply running 20 euros and saying that this ad doesn't work doesn't mean that you should write it off and say that it will never work for anybody else. So A/B testing is great, but I think that sometimes you can reuse the content. And for example, with the case of Rocketo, we have the ad sets or even the campaign of super ads, which are never shut down, and they keep just running for 4 or 5 months, without any single edit or anything, because they have insane results. So the super ads, something really super. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dima. I wanted to ask, have you ever dealt with the campaigns for mobile applications? Because we have a mobile app, we're about to launch a small promo campaign here in Baltics. So we have an experience about the CPI which we got on the CIS market, and I'm curious, have you any estimates about the CPI for mobile apps based on subscription model here in Baltics and especially Lithuania? Thank you.
Okay, so for the apps, my suggestion would be to start with universal app campaigns on Google. And one of the reasons why, simply because you start from initiating the cost per conversion, and the math is very simple. You start with the daily budget, and you set the initial cost per conversion. So you can have, let's say, 20 or 10 euros per conversion in the beginning, but then you have to multiply it 10 or 20 times to have a daily spend. It doesn't mean that Google will spend all of it, but it will just run insanely, to irritate the customers and, force them install the ads. If you remember Yandex, promotions here in Lithuania, they use universal app campaigns. So this is one of the reasons why you've seen, so many of Yandex ads on YouTube, on Delphi, on YouTube, on everywhere. And the cool thing with the universal app campaigns is that if you do not install the app and do not really engage with it, so then as it's per install base, then this is a free branding. And this is something that's really worth considering. So universal app campaigns is something that you should probably start from. And the cost per conversion, eventually it can go to 2 euros or so. It can go even lower, but you should start with something like 5 cents higher, just to make sure that it accelerates. So if you have the buffer, for that, increase the cost per install, multiply the daily budget, and then every week, drop the cost per conversion by about 10 to 20% until you reach the point when it's already profitable for a brand. But you need to know that it's about 3 months of work. I wouldn't call it work because you just have to, decrease the bid, but still, you can have the results.
So you say it's about 2 euros per install.
Eventually, you can reach those results. Definitely, I don't know if that is enough for you.
I think it's a bit high than we expected, because in CIS maybe the markets are slightly different, but we have reached 0.5, 0.6 but dollars per install.
The thing is that I really don't want to overpromise. The thing is that I can tell you that you can have these conversions as well, but that cost will not happen in the first. The question is how many conversions you want. If you want 100 conversions, that you can have them. If you want 10,000 conversions per day, then it's tough to have them for that price. So it's always a matter of amount of conversions that you want and the price that you're willing to pay. So you can have that, but I just don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. If then, after a week you come to me and tell me, look, you said that you can get me conversions for 30 cents. So it's better to say, look, I promised you 2 euros, but now we have 70 cents. Yes, question upstairs.
So I've heard, I'm also not working with an e-shop, but I've heard that sometimes with the objectives, they don't recommend to choose engagement or reach. What do you think about that? Which objectives are most, is the best to invest in?
So honestly, reach and engagement is a little bit waste of money.
Yep.
Really? There's one thing that's good about engagement campaigns. So, and this is if you want this so-called social proof, what you can do, if you have an ad, and let's say if it was a successful ad, and for some reason you stopped running it, right? So you can copy the idea of the ad and you can put it to the engagement campaign, and you can have, you know, those additional likes or shares, and you will get that, and that will be one of the reasons that maybe will help your brand, you know, have lower cost per conversion. But from our experience, it's better to simply, honestly, it's better to run for the conversion campaigns and aim for view content, aim for add to cart and purchase. And engagements isn't the case if, let's say, you do not have these events on your site. If you are just, you know, a brand, like, for example, I don't know, somebody that's building, you know, these Christmas trees and not having a shop, then for you engagement is probably the only thing that you can measure. Okay. And reach is also something that's sort of great when you do not have, you know, a shop. But if you will run reach campaigns and you say that they were bad because they did not deliver purchases, then you simply had a wrong objective. So depending on what is exactly the objective. So for e-shops, go for conversions and go for catalog sales.
And if you're not an e-shop?
If you're not an e-shop, can you tell me, like, you know, can you give me an example of what, for example, that you know, what you do?
Yeah, so we're working with a platform that builds calculators for business websites. So you go to the platform, you create it for yourself, and then you embed it to your website. So, but we're at a beginning stage. So it's like we're thinking of the strategy to choose. So.
Okay, so how will it be possible for me? Is it a B2B or B2C?
B2B.
B2B.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that is a B2B business, then in your case, maybe you will want to have lead generation campaigns, you know, to have the initial, you know, contacts. So for that, it makes sense, you know, for you to run the reach and frequency campaigns for the bottom of the funnel. And then for those people that viewed the ad, like, you know, 70% of that, if that's a video ad or something like that.
Yep.
So for these people, already run the lead generation campaign. So that is something that's sort of in that, or let's say engagement as well can work for the top of the funnel, and then already lead campaigns for the middle and bottom. Because one great thing about, let's say, engagement is that there's a possibility for you to create the audience which engaged with your ads or Facebook page, right? So if you do not have that audience and you still run engagement campaigns, then it's wrong. But if you run engagement campaigns and you have that audience, you know, built on your site, built like, you know, on Facebook, then it's efficient, because, you know, this is exactly how the funnel works. You run something really easy, measurable for the top, and then move down. So for you, lead generations should be the primary objective. Eventually, you know, the way. But the question is, if that is B2B, then why not LinkedIn? And okay, so that one as well. If you know the companies that maybe, you know, can be you know, targeted, if you know your potential customers, then all you need to do is simply put the list of these brands and these companies and start running the same logic. Video ad for the top of the funnel, and those that retargeted, you know, not retargeted, but engaged, retargeted with lead ads. Thank you. Yes.
What would you recommend, which strategy to bring people to a Facebook page for a company?
So what does your company do?
Learning languages, teaching.
Learning languages, teaching. Okay, so if that is teaching, and do you do you provide teachers, or
No, it's online system.
can you tell me more a little bit about it? How does it work?
Well, it's a SaaS. It's a web page, and
Okay.
and you just, I don't know.
Okay,
Listen,
sign up and start listening, right?
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of Facebook page?
It's to help people learn the language.
Okay,
Like
but-
examples, explanations, and content.
Okay, but question is, so do you have, is there a button on your not Facebook page, but like on your page, like where you can become a customer, like, you know, sign up or something like that, create an account?
On our Facebook page.
So is it
No.
is it just Facebook page that you have, or you also do you have a, like, you know?
No, we have a website which
Exactly.
is working. Yes.
So on website, do you have like an account creation button?
Yes, sort of like that. Yeah.
So if you have that, then this can be your first conversion.
Yeah.
You can do you already run the campaigns, you know, for that button click?
Well, it happens sort of automatically.
Okay, if that happens automatically, then it means that there are enough events, maybe, for Facebook to also, you know, help you acquire the traffic, you know, for that event. But if you just want, you know, to have Facebook audience, then I would say put the, put Facebook pixel to your page if it's not there, and create website lookalike audience. And start running the ads broadly to this website visitor lookalike audience, and without any particular targeting, simply start running the ads for these people, and you will have more Facebook visitors if this is something that you want, you know, to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one more question, and I think we can go on.
That's a little bit tough. On Facebook, like, you know, if you run just Facebook tools, you cannot really do that. But what you can do, you can extract the Facebook group IDs, and then these IDs then can be re-uploaded as custom audiences. The problem is that it's not really legal to do that. So there's a workaround. Yeah, so there's a workaround for that. And the workaround is build a lookalike audience on that custom audience and never target that custom audience. Because if you target that custom audience, then you can get, like, you know, the GDPR, you know. I'm not saying that I know people that do that, but I read online that it's possible to do that.
I also have a question for a while already. It goes back to your slide when you showed if you want to control your budget or not. And my question is from the tiny, small company side, because you're talking right now from the kind of agency who manages, I assume, bigger budgets for bigger brands, and then you run a lot of different campaigns, you're an expert and you know which one to target. And my question is related to that, like, if I have a small budget, should I just trust the AI algorithms of Facebook, or should I test and try myself to understand how each campaign works differently, what kind of results are? And then my other question is about the global differences we're not having here right now in Lithuania, which are more like coming, and at what stage we are as Lithuanian market comparing to the regional or European. And then you do have any experience or what kind of differences are when you sell either products or services? Because right now I felt you work more with the products, and do you have experience as services?
Okay, so I will try to answer all three questions. So first of all, let's go from the last one to the first one, and please remind me the first one after, you know, answer the last two questions. So talking about services versus products, majority of our customers are those which simply are selling products. The reason why that's working in that way is simply because our customers are e-shops, and yes, they do sell, in most of the cases, this is something like this. But we also have B2B companies which, orient in selling services. So this is something that the reason why I asked your colleague about lead generation campaigns, and I started talking about them. This is something that was completely, not on the slide here, because it was, purchase, view content, add to carts, and lead generation campaigns really work well for the B2B sector. The problem with them is that if you run them on Facebook and approach the company a week afterwards, they will forget that they even applied for some kind of that even left their contact to you. So here it's extremely crucial to simply get that customer as soon as possible. For that, what we suggest our clients is to use Zapier. If there's basically the automation tool which can link Facebook, these leads to things like Google spreadsheets and something like, or CRM systems. So if you have lead ads, you can simply push them to
automated emailing.
All that thing, exactly. So this works really great, but you have to pre-build it in the beginning. As well, LinkedIn lead generation works also really well for the qualified leads. So yes, we have experience with the B2B and services, but for that, in many cases, it's more about helping the company have the call and receiving phone number or email, and then pushing it to the to the B2B sales team. So this is the last question. Then there was the one about the bids, and should you trust Facebook artificial intelligence, or whatever intelligence? Yes, you should always test and double check and double verify. In many cases, I would say, if you have a B2B business, and you know that your conversion is never worth let's say you cannot acquire a conversion for 100 euros, then it's a problem. If that is if that is a B2B, and if you want a B2B conversion, final conversion to be at 1-2 euros. But if you want it to be at higher cost, then it's really possible and really implementable. The only question is how you build everything, and what is this smaller budget, because I'm not talking about companies that have millions of euros in their portfolio. You can have an efficient campaign with 1,000 euros, with a couple hundred euros as well. The only difference is that you need to have this narrow audience. The problem there is that with narrow audience, there's less way for you to learn, and then you have to go this one step back, and then instead of final conversion, there has to be either link click of your content or something like that. And then about talking Lithuania versus the global markets. So there are two things. One is the pricing, and another is the formats, and creatives. So behind the formats and creatives, we're not really that far away back, because usually when something is introduced globally, by Facebook, we have it as well, same week, same month or so. So from formats and creatives perspective, we're not really behind. When we talk about the pricing, that is something that is challenging sometimes for the local business to step out of the market in Lithuania to, let's say, UK or USA, because, for example, if you are a B2B company, I would not suggest you going to UK market with a budget of 1,000 euros for a month, because you will just waste them. And but in Lithuania, with 1,000 euros, you can achieve results. If you want to scale, then you need to be able to go from, let's say, preset 5 to 7 to 10,000 euros to potentially grow to even 50K. Maybe I'm not trying to say that it has to be like you just have to waste that money, but you need to be able to scale, because if you will not be scaling, then at some point you will simply be outcompeted by somebody who will steal your idea. And this has happened with a couple of brands that I know that introduced a brand, and then a month later they're being copied. Their brand name is like, I'm not saying that somebody bought the brand name, but even on Google search somebody is buying their brand name, and for that company that's really not super cost efficient. So yeah.
So, okay, thank you very much for this quite an intensive Q&A session. I think we have still some drinks left, so we can stay here for some time and you can ask Arimas personally. Okay, thank
Super.
you.
Thank you. I feel like we should have done Q&A session from the beginning.